Yuki Tsunoda sent a fierce warning regarding his position in Red Bull, or more precisely, Racing Bulls, as the entire Formula One world felt enraged that it was Liam Lawson who was promoted over the Japanese driver. This decision came despite Lawson having only 11 races of experience compared to Tsunoda's 4 years in the sport. Now, with a new rookie next to him in Isaac Hadjar, Tsunoda will make sure to put Lawson under the same pressure he previously applied to Sergio Perez. Given the experience gap between Lawson and the current Red Bull driver, it shouldn't be too difficult of a mission for Yuki. But will this finally convince Red Bull to move in the direction of signing the Honda protégé, or are they sticking to their academy and their roots for the greater good? Yuki Tsunoda is one of the most underrated drivers on the grid, considering his performances over the past few years. Yet, despite this, he was overlooked for the Red Bull seat in favor of Lawson, who received a 6-race stint in the closing stages of 2024 to prove himself against Tsunoda in a proper setting. Of course, Yuki outqualified Lawson 6-0, and the only reason the Austrian team picked Lawson was due to his versatility, having raced in categories like DTM and Super Formula. Still, this justification doesn't sit well with Tsunoda, who is determined to prove to Red Bull that they made a horrendous mistake by not promoting him to Perez's seat. Even though he acknowledges some blame due to his performances in 2024, he remains adamant that the team will have fewer excuses if 2025 goes in his favor. Reflecting on the situation, Tsunoda said, "In 2024, even though I did well, I felt that I did not get the credit that other drivers were probably given. But that is the way it was, and I'll just have to keep doing what I'm doing. Go strong on the track and prove the team wrong. I just have to give Red Bull fewer excuses or reasons why they didn't put me in that seat. I will focus on what I can control and accept everything else. I'm sure I can do a better job than they think I can do." Of course, the pressure has already been intensified by Helmut Marko and Christian Horner, with the latter stating that Hadjar's test times in Abu Dhabi's postseason session were faster than Tsunoda's, turning some heads in the F1 paddock. This marks a significant setback for Yuki in gaining the trust of the Austrian team, even though Red Bull insisted that the final decision between him and Lawson was made at the last second and was extremely close in terms of competitiveness. However, even with 4 years of experience, Tsunoda's journey has been turbulent. He struggled in his early years alongside Pierre Gasly, often being crash-prone in 2021 and 2022. It wasn't until 2023 that he started earning proper recognition, outperforming drivers like Nyck de Vries, Daniel Ricciardo, and Lawson, positioning himself in a different league. He essentially continued where Gasly left off, although he is still far from matching the Frenchman's achievements, including a race win in 2020 with an average car. Tsunoda understands that his strong ties with Honda may be a burden when it comes to his commitment to Red Bull, especially since the Japanese manufacturer is set to leave in 2026. With Honda partnering with Aston Martin, it's clear that Tsunoda could be a solid candidate for a seat there, particularly as Fernando Alonso nears retirement. This move would offer Tsunoda the chance to race in a car capable of winning, while his future teammate at Aston Martin may struggle to maintain the team's standing in the Constructors' Championship. However, in the Drivers' Championship, Tsunoda could be miles ahead of Lawson, proving his worth on a bigger stage. There is no doubt that the pressure on the Kiwi driver, Lawson, is greater than ever. Hadjar has made it clear that Tsunoda is ready to step up if Lawson's debut goes horribly wrong. Meanwhile, Marko has emphasized that Lawson shouldn't focus on trying to beat Max Verstappen, something all of Verstappen's teammates have attempted, only to see their hopes crushed. Instead, Marko has set a more realistic goal for Lawson, to remain within 0.3 of a second per lap from Verstappen. This is a soul-crushing reality for Lawson, as it essentially means his chances of competing at the very top have been publicly shattered before the season even begins. It's not like anybody expected him to beat Verstappen, but to say it out loud in public is definitely not helping your agenda. So, Yuki being Yuki, filled with motivation to prove to Red Bull that they've been terribly wrong about their choice of promotion, well, it's all going to be very interesting to see how he'll stand up compared to Lawson, now that Red Bull needs a very strong second driver in the Red Bull seat. But according to the Japanese driver, the fault can be found in himself as well, because he didn't perform from year one in the sport, as I mentioned earlier in the video, and that might return to haunt him in the foreseeable future. The first 2 years saw the worst version of Yuki on the grid, full of swearing, tantrum-throwing moments, and anything but competitive and compelling work with his engineer. When talking about it, Tsunoda said, "I think the fact that Red Bull didn't consider me for 2025 is partly my fault too, because I didn't immediately perform without difficulty in my first year in Formula One, and that gave a bit of an image of who I am. Nevertheless, here we are, and the goal is loud and clear. Beat the rookie hard to the point of him having the team considering replacing him mid-season, and challenge Lawson so frequently that Red Bull would have to think twice about whether or not they've made the right choice in terms of promotion. You could make the argument that Yuki deserved the seat more because of the experience and the knowledge he has regarding Red Bull's machinery. But as he said, first impressions matter the most, and in this case, Lawson is far better compared to Yuki. What is another huge challenge for Yuki is the fact that he would have to fight against the first impression of Hadjar in an F1 car, and the Frenchman is adamant regarding his goals. Beat Tsunoda, and nothing short of that. The time that he will spend in an F1 car might as well be limited to a very short extent, especially if Tsunoda crushes his hopes with a dominant performance from day one in 2025. But Hadjar believes in himself and believes that he didn't come to this level by coincidence. When talking about it, he said, "I know that my experience in F1 is limited. There is a very high level on the grid. In the end, I know myself. I know that when I get in the car, I will want to beat Tsunoda. That is the only real thing, especially in this category where we don't have all the same car. It's the only real objective I have. In concrete terms, entering a world like this is a bit scary, but I will keep my desire to succeed, to win, and I also want to channel my emotions. I know which team I am in. I know they don't like the radio button too much. The fact that I have trouble visualizing this shows how special this adventure is for me. To be honest, I am scared." Be that as it may, the situation is all but over in Red Bull, and in the next couple of years, we're going to see some massive changes in the drivers' lineup, because Liam will have a lot of ego to fill with his drive. The fact that he will go against a 4-time world champion as his teammate is a massive challenge that he may not be overcoming anytime soon. On top of that, he has pressure not just from the Racing Bulls drivers, including Hadjar, but also from the internal circle in Red Bull. Considering the fact that this is a team that can barely fight the internal wars in peace, Lawson could find himself in a crossfire and be expelled because of some poor results that could as well be written off to the design of the car. With all this in mind, what do you think about Tsunoda's latest statement regarding Red Bull's seat? And more importantly, do you think that if he is not promoted to the second seat next to Verstappen, he will be the leading candidate to swipe Alonso's seat thanks to Honda's influence, and then prove to his former team that, yes, he does have what it takes to be a top-notch driver? Let us know in the comments below. And if you're interested in Ferrari's latest decision regarding the 2025 season, make sure to check out the video that's appearing on your screen right now.